Yarraville and Gordon became apparatus for theological advisor to Archbishop Leonard Raynham at the Secretariat for Christian Unity at the Second Vatican Council. In the late 1960s, he left the traditional parish ministry and worked in the Religious Affairs Department of the Australian Broadcasting Commission. Laicized in 1969, he was the first former Australian priest to be publicly married in the church. He later pursued a doctoral degree in cognitive psychology at Indiana University, was subsequently appointed a professor at Melbourne and currently Northern University in Canberra. He is the author of a dozen books, including several which trace his personal experience and express his views on the likely evolution of the priesthood after Vatican II. Thank you, Michael.
Turn yours off, David.
Full screen, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just put you on. Yep, you're on.
I'm not. Well, I'd like to acknowledge the elders of the Wurundjeri tribe and in the Kulin country who are custodians of this land. I'd also like to acknowledge the Cardine Community Incorporated for organising today. I title this Catholic Action in Action in Yarraville, 60 to 63, but I really think it might be the musings of an 84-year-old priest who was informed by Cardine's philosophy to leave a wonderful country parish of Gordon and move out into the desert like Abraham, not knowing what was ahead. I then found myself at the ABC, I found myself in New York at the Children's Television Workshop, and then on to Indiana University, where I did my PhD, and then appointed Professor of Education at Tehran until we were expelled by the Ayatollah Khomeini. I returned to Australia and then spent my life in universities at Deakin, Monash, Melbourne until 2001. I retired and volunteered for the IVF program. I thought it would suit a celibate of earlier years. The Indigenous Volunteer Foundation and the board sent me to Cambodia, a program of academic professional development among the academics of the universities. Along the way, I married and had a family, 4 children, 12 grandchildren, and a 6th great-grandchild due in next month. So the guy, this talk really was inspired by the discovery, quite unexpectedly, of a collection of about 3.5 years, of magazines called Yarraville. The boys had Yarraville, led by Bill Scales. But Yarraville was a monthly publication that the girls would put together and use it as a mechanism to go and make contact with the 300 to 400 young workers, young girls in the Yarraville parish. I inherited the NCGM, as it was then called. Kevin Gary started it. At Yarraville we had Kevin Ryan, who had the boys, and Luciano Secolari. The parish priest was Allo Morgan, chaplain general, and very active in that. But the leaders group was 12, met weekly, 7 to 8:30, a very highly structured program, and led by several wonderful presidents, Bernadette Fanning, Patsy Cluno, and Sandra Molden. Began with a prayer, reports on contact, sports, chaplain's talk, and a gospel discussion led by one of the girls who would meet with the chaplain during the week. As I read the chaplain's pages that I wrote in the Yarraville, I squirm and cringe a bit, but nevertheless that was part of the culture of the time. This is a page I wrote about Jesus longing for his home in heaven and at the time of the Ascension. The leaders were ordinary girls, generally educated at Year 12, going on to TAFE or Teachers College. And they saw that they had responsibility for the children of Mary and 4 sports teams, basketball and softball. And they would visit all the girls in the parish each month with their Yarraville to suss out who were potential leaders for the group. These had the young priests with a Catholic action philosophy, Cardine's ambition to bring the lost worker generation back to Jesus. Cardine believed there was nothing more powerful than a practical philosophy, an ideology that young workers alone could bring the gospel to young workers in their workplace. Such a potential, such a potent message for young girls, ordinary young girls, that they weren't just going into the office. They were charged with bringing salvation to their workmates, and only they could do it. Yes, maybe get them to Sunday Mass, but more importantly, if all else failed, they then at least would care for them in friendship and letting their own Jesus light shine. At the same time, we started a group at Star of the Sea to train the young women to speak at the Yarra Bank. They were too gripped by the same urge to bring Jesus to the streets, to the schools, to the workplace. These were not holy roller girls, ordinary girls, boyfriends, tussled with intimacy, sexual urgings, yet they espoused an empowering Cardine ideology. They embraced this apostolate as fiercely as they embraced their sport. I must say, I grew up in a family of 4 boys. My father grew up in a family with 1 girl and 7 or 8 boys. And for me to experience young girls and the fierceness with which not only they embraced their sport, but the Cardine ideology, it became their way of life. I want to pay tribute to Race Matthews, 50 pages on Dan Mannix in his book. A book that I find I've got to wrestle with because he's got such a power with words to make the most, almost distill them like essence and perfume. I put his pages up there with Val Moons in West Melbourne, with Vin Buckley's Cutting Green Hay, and Gerald Lyons' interview on the ABC, and of course Brenda Niles' gold medal battalion. There are few living contacts, probably less than 100, who had personal contact with the old man. I had the privilege, well, because I was chaplain to the Evidence Guild, where we would meet and we would take on new projects, of spending on 7 occasions having time with him. And his door was always open, and there was no hurry with him, and you could ruminate with him. So there are not many left. But here at Val's earlier gathering this year in Brunswick, a lady presented us with this photo, and it's a very rare indication of Dan's intimacy in the very best sense, with his hands rested on the shoulders of the young girl. It's a bit like the photos of Dan. There are only half a dozen when Dan is smiling or laughing. An austere man, a strange man, but when he got to Australia he had a gift of giving priests his great freedom. I remember on one occasion with the Catholic Evidence Guild, I went to him with a plan to start a campaign advertising the church in Melbourne trams, buses and picture theatres, and presenting it to him, and he'd listen and say, "I have the greatest trust in you." And so you go back to Laurie Moran and say, "Dan says we can have a leaving collection," and Laurie says, "Oh, let's have a look in the book, what date would suit?" Gave great freedom to his priests. Yarraville was on Melbourne's fringe, the expanding western suburbs of Brayville and Sunshine out to Hoppers Crossing. And the year I got there, 1961, Footscray got to the grand final, unfortunately lost. John Schultz had the Brownlow and Teddy Whitten was a favoured son. A wonderful footballer with football brains, and the unfortunate implication, not much more. The YCW always had guys training with Footscray, and Don McKenzie later became the captain coach. Yes, Footscray had to wait till last year to get its second flag. All the young leaders had pride in Yarraville, but feeling that they were the ugly ducklings on the fringe of Melbourne. I was their young chaplain, and in those days a parish would relish having a brand new chaplain, something special about them. At Werribee we had societies, literary, debating, sports, winter garden, acting, and in my time we started one for Catholic Action, where we studied John Maloney's The Priest in Catholic Action. He came back, I think, 1953, and as I've said before, he was like a meteor across the sky. He came back with a depth of theological backing to Catholic Action and practices. And of course we read and studied Cardinal Suhard, a priest in the modern world and mission of France and priest workers. I was interested to hear from the last speaker about an alternative shadow and side to Sunans. This was the Melbourne Archdiocese fiercely led by Bob Santamaria, and let's not muck around, we can say all sorts of things, but Melbourne was dominated by the personality of Bob. He preached 1 hour before midnight, the red peril on our doorstep, and urged that Dan ensure that all members of the YCW join the movement. The strong stand taken by Frank Lombard, and Dan, in his typical fashion, would refuse to acquiesce. But this did lead to an ideological battle in our time. Kev Toomey, Charlie McCann were very strong figures. They were ordained my first year at Werribee. And this distinction, which we fought over as if it was a grand final, Catholic Action versus Catholic Action. But the YCW had this simple philosophy of the workers can bring Jesus to the workplace. Now Yarraville was not unique. Next door, West Footscray, Brian Lang, St Joseph's, Collingwood, Mick McGrath, Heidelberg, Pete Phelan, Val and Gary McLaughlin all had similar groups. Ballarat had Kev Murphy and Laurie Halloran, Sandhurst, Maury Duffy and Les Reed, Maitland, Tom Moore, Frank Hinchy, Terry and Peter Williams, all with similar leaders seeking to lead the young workers to bring Jesus to the workplace. There was a growing culture of YCW leaders coming to Werribee to study for the priesthood, led by Brian Burke, as Val put so well. So many of these who were ordained, up to 30 YCW guys throughout Australia who have been ordained have chosen to leave the traditional ministry. And there was Brian, as Val said, became a fitter and turner. Why? To become identified with the workers in their workplace. Paul Willie spent his life as a postman, Frank Hornby, and local council administrator Peter Harris, and Mocha Sheehy of Gordon, who married the daughter of the manager of the Wallace Butter Factory. This same vision that led me and so many priests to serve Jesus outside the sacristy and the sanctuary like Abraham. And this same vision to serve Jesus, and I would add, without any mucking around, the need for sexual liberation led me and so many priests. As I've said before, I joined the ABC and then started a migrant education television program in Wollongong for Al Grasby. And because I recognised I knew so little about that field, got a grant in aid from the Film and Television School to go to see the Children's Television Workshop in New York, where they were starting a new program, not Sesame Street, but for adults on nutrition. And there I met Keith Melky, who was the head psychologist directing the program, and he said, "Mike, you better come to Indiana with me and study this deeply." So off I went. Yes, we were the first publicly married at St. Bede's in Piedmont with Nick Serzantz and Con Keogh and Tony Newman, thank you. Tony Newman as our celebrants. But I felt even then that in some ways there was a strong movement, and I was representing so many priests who were following. I'm rightly presenting a vibrant picture of priesthood and the YCW in a parish, driven by Cardine ideals, because these could make a difference for ordinary working lives, and the conscious choice to seek to bring Jesus in the workplace. As I've said, this is a powerful antidote that gave ideals to workers, and it was acknowledged by Cardine himself